Ops and other law enforcement people of Reddit, what were some cases you worked on that made you think, even if for a moment, that something supernatural paranormal was going on? Probably too late for this to surface, but this is my dad's story. He went to a call where a father had gone crazy and decided to shoot his family. He killed his wife and was looking around trying to find his 5-year-old son to shoot him. The boy had run outside and was trying to hide on the side of the house behind the trash cans. The father eventually found him and point-blank emptied nearly a full magazine at the boy. When my dad arrived, they found the boy in shock, hiding right where his dad found him, not a wound on his body. There were bullet holes in the side of the house all around the boy. When they finally got to question him about it, they asked him what happened when his dad found him on the side of the yard. The boy replied, "The angel was in front of me with a shield, and he saved me. He pushed the gun away from me." ICU nurse Haru had a patient that was dying. No family. Around 3 a.m. the guy started crying and asking why the little girl in the yellow dress was in the hospital. We assure him there is no little girl. He cries even more saying yes there is, she is at the foot of the bed. Kid you not, the man passed in the next few minutes. Myself and my pod partner blamed the hallucination on the meds we were giving him to keep him comfortable next night. New patient in the room. She's completely alert and oriented. About 3 a.m. she hits her calite. She wants to know why the little girl in the yellow dress was outside her room. We told her it was just her imagination from being in a strange place. Not 5 minutes later the guy in the next room goes into full cardiac arrest and unfortunately we can't receive him, of course we absolutely freak. 2 different nights. 2 different patients see the same thing. All followed by death.
I worked as a forensic nurse in a lock-up unit in the hospital once with state and county inmates. Had one older demented lady who swore she was being haunted, abused by a demon she would call Tiberius. So many crazy things happened whenever she was there, like we'd go into the room, do normal care, leave, and seconds later she'd start screaming bloody murder and we'd run into the room to find her looking like she'd been in a fight with a boxing champ, bloody lip, black eye, markings all over her body. No one ever saw her doing this stuff to herself. Things would get moved around the room by themselves, like at one point she was in protective restraints because the doc thought she was hurting herself. There was no way she could have moved or done anything to herself while in these restraints, but new marks would always appear or her tray card would be across the room. The room was secure, so there was no way someone else was doing this. You'd ask her questions and she'd just say it was Tiberius. After she was discharged, we always had trouble with that room if there was going to be a rapid response or code. It happened in that room, one of the guards reporting that lights were going on and off in a room. It was that one.
Career working in historic house museums, and people constantly ask if they're haunted. I am not a person who is into ghost stuff, but a good legend does bring in the visitors, so I don't have any shy from explaining any deaths that have occurred in the house. Recently I worked at a historic house in a small town where a child was fatally injured falling down the back stairs. She died in the local hospital a few days after the fall, and the story was well known locally. People often reported strange feelings. A team of ghost hunters visited a few years back who claimed they detected a voice, and that something fell over during taping. Of course, nothing ever just falls over, and the light over the stairs had been known to flicker before some rewiring was done during the restoration. We also had a summer student who was deeply into this stuff, to the point where she claimed a friendship with the ghost. I scoffed regularly at all this stuff. None of the staff I supervised ever reported anything strange, and I was frequently alone in the house without issues. However, on my third to last day working there, I was in the house with another member of staff, taking them through the daily inspection routine. We were on the second floor when a loud banging came from the back of the house. When we looked out into the hallway, a light was on over the back stairs where the fatal accident occurred. Now, I was very careful never to leave lights on overnight because it's bad for the artifacts, and definitely had not turned that light on yet since we hadn't reached that part of the house. I asked my colleague if she'd turned it on and she said no. The banging occurred again and we basically just bailed completely. In retrospect, I must have left the light on the day before, and the noises probably came from outside, but the confluence of events in the dark old house on a gloomy, cloudy day just made my skin crawl.